What legendary YouTube channel doesn't make videos anymore? Every frame a painting, gold for film students or aficionados. Sean Enner's Dude was one of the funniest channels around for years. Then he got married and started flipping real estate and had a family. I feel like Ahoy almost falls into this category. But then 10 months later he comes out with another banger and then vanishes again. Is it a good idea to microwave this? The Crack channel was so good and then everyone left. I think they're still putting out content, but it was unwatchable the last time I tried. Technoblade died of cancer last year. Videos are still uploaded to the channel occasionally, but they are made by his seems like a great guy. Nigahiga. What's a piece of obsolete technology you still use today because it's better than the modern version? Opening a damn web browser and go into a store's website instead of using an app, if the option is there. I still use Adobe CS6 because paying monthly for software is some bullshit. Old tools. My garage sale planes are as good as anything made today. My panel saw is perfect. Now, there's a bunch of survivorship bias and sharpening going on here, but I love them. The old unsafe gas cans that don't leak gas all over the place. Books. I take books out the library, read them, return them. Seeing what books are available on my want-to-read list is a fun game in itself. What's the strangest thing you've heard someone say in their sleep? I like to call her Vanilla Vanny in my head place. She's so boring. My brother, who is now engaged to a girl named Vanessa. We gotta go to the bean party beyond party. It's only 6%. We gotta go pee in the port. 6 days remember, ha ha ah yeah. All said in one night by my GF at the time. The last one scared the crap out of me. She burst out laughing so loud at like 4 a.m. In my dorm, freshman year, my roommate's BF said fuck me harder, daddy. Never told a goddamn soul. My wife tried to sell me an insurance policy in her sleep. The cheese is in my pocket. He in fact did not have cheese in his pocket. Ex-spoiled kids. What was your reality checks? Father died and gave his inheritance to his 25-year GF. When I mistreated someone I cared about and they actually followed through with cutting me out of their life. My mom got seriously ill in cancer and ended up in the ICU for 5 months. I had to get my shit together real quick now that she couldn't fix my messes anymore. Joining the workforce. Very first day of my first job, I was like, oh shit. This is what everyone was complaining about. What are some clear signs that someone is failing at life? How far they have to look back to brag? If a 40-year-old talks about his high school life, that's a pretty good indicator. Haters are a real thing, but no one complaining about the haters on Facebook has a life that anyone is jealous about. It's all relative. You can view someone as successful, but they are a failure in their own eyes. And one person can look to be a failure but are proud of what they've done and are happy. When your adult children hate you, always complaining and never taking responsibility. They characterize everything as happening to them and don't take any initiative to change their situation. Continuously having kids that they do not want with a partner they despise. What big celebrity story or occurrence do you suspect was secretly a publicity stunt? The whole Kardashian sex tape. Most successful grift in the modern era. Michael Jackson marrying Lisa Marie Presley. Pretty much every Tom Cruise marriage. Anything Snoop Dogg has done since the year 2000 lol. Hilaria Baldwin's accent. Troy McClure and Selma Bouvier. Kim Kardashian dating Pete Davidson was a publicity stunt that only Kim knew about. Tom Holland spoiling stuff. I get it, kid's adorable, prone to being a cute dork. But there's no way his spoilers weren't planned lol. People may say Weird Al and Madonna, but those people don't understand what love is. What disappeared from the world and no one noticed? Movie trailers with that voiceover guy. In a world where Ronald McDonald, at some point he was just gone. All-day McDonald's breakfast. Toys in cereal boxes. Late-night food options. A lot of places started closing early during COVID and never went back. 24/7 grocery stores. L33T's peak dot. I can't even nail down the decade it disappeared. Waterbeds. Purchasing software now. It is more frequently a subscription model. Lightning bugs. I live in the South USA, and as a kid they were everywhere. Now when I'm outside during the summer, I don't see them at all. Privacy. 3D television. What is something that is wildly controversial that you think shouldn't be? Changing your mind about a topic. Friendly reminder to sort by controversial. Having nuance on an opinion instead of being fucking insane about one extreme end or the other on a given issue. You don't need an opinion on everything or need everyone to agree with your view. Too many PPL are obsessed with knowing someone's opinion on things, so they know where to put PPL in their chat of right versus incorrect opinions and label them as bad. Cooking food that isn't your culture. What is the saddest song you've ever heard? The Night My Mama Died. My dad sang Elvis Can't Help Falling in Love to her in the back seat of the car on the way to the she died of fully metastatized pancreatic cancer 18 days after diagnosis. Bonnie Raitt, I Can't Make You Love Me. Willie Nelson's rendition of Just Breathe. Nutshell, Alice in Chains. When She Loved Me from Toy Story 2. Strange Fruit. The Night We Met Lord Huron. Concrete Angel by Martina McBride. It's totally heartbreaking. Also, the music video always brings a tear or two to my eyes. What secret was revealed when cleaning out the home of a deceased family member? A diary with only a few entries from my uncle who lived alone. One of the entries was about how sad he was to have never met anyone or had children and how lonely he was. Broke my heart. Side was his adoption papers. He was adopted. Turns out his aunt, who is significantly younger, had a teen pregnancy, and to avoid controversy at the time, the newly married older sister just adopted him. That my father committed suicide and did not die of a heart attack. That he was a cop under investigation for theft and took the quick way out. What's a clear sign that you are an unattractive person? When people talk to you in order to get to know your friend. Nobody asks why you're still single. A little kid will tell you. They're blunt and honest and don't even know it. Getting asked out as a joke. I was a very unfortunate looking preteen, and teenagers are cruel. You get poor customer service no matter how friendly you are. The only compliment you get is that you're funny. Being invisible and never having anyone remotely interested in you, mainly romantically. But even for friendship is kind of hard. Of course, if you are also introverted, the effects are way higher. When you do something slightly annoying or minor, people act like you deserve to be stoned for it. What's a fact that has been actively disproven, yet people still spread it? Scientists don't know how bees fly. Cracking your knuckles causes arthritis. Strangers will give me free drugs on street corners and in Halloween candy. Gum stays in your intestines for 7 years if you swallow it. The misconception that humans only use 10 of their brains, which has been debunked by neuroscience. In reality, various parts of the brain have specific functions, and most of the brain is active at different times. What's a fact that sounds like a conspiracy theory? Ernest Hemingway suffered from ongoing paranoia that the FBI were surveilling him, which was thought to be a key factor in his suicide. Most chalked it up to mental illness at the time. Decades later, his file was released, proving he was under investigation for his ties to Cuba. His phones were tapped, and he was right all along. The Church of Scientology had members secretly infiltrate U.S. government agencies in order to destroy unfavorable documents and investigations into them. Tax service companies such as Intuit spend millions of dollars a year lobbying to make sure the IRS does not make it easier to file your taxes. What's the most frustratingly difficult video game level or boss fight you've faced, where it felt nearly impossible to beat? How did you finally conquer it? Share your experiences, strategies, and the satisfaction of finishing it. The tutorial level in Driver was the stuff of nightmares as a kid. The Devil in Cuphead, I woke up my roommates celebrating. Deathstroke in Arkham Origins when I was younger. Took me weeks to beat him. Came back to the game recently. Playing on normal rather than easy as I was when I was younger and beat him on the first try. I think I was just stupid. What's the most overrated city in the world? Holy shit, this thread is amazing. City. Like I just gave up scrolling, but it was a very fun romp. Dubai. Dubai. It's the clickbait of the world. We have the biggest, tallest, most expensive. You won't believe when you see this. It's hot as fuck. Everything's a man-made tourist trap. Labor exploitation and racism are rampant. And they try so hard to prove to the world how modern and westernized they are. Really, it's just government propaganda. Dubai, all form no function, built by slave labor. Miami, a city of narcissists and attention whores. Eagleton is filled with a bunch of snobs. Doctors of Reddit, what's the worst thing you can do to your body? Untreated hypertension and diabetes, and cocaine crack. The coronary vasospasms will do a number on your heart. Applying cow dung to an open fracture, not my idea. Saw it happen. Dude died to sepsis in less than 24 hours. Drink alcohol for a long period of time. Cirrhosis and ultimate liver failure are one of the worst deaths I can imagine. Long and slow while you get to think about the consequences of your actions, while you lose your mind and or bleed to death. Not enough sleep. Think of sleep like recharging your phone. Without it, you can't function. Eat a that I have a PhD in geosciences, alcohol and smoking, no question. Girls, what isn't nearly as attractive as a lot of guys think it is? Rubbing the clit like you're a DJ. Being mean. I know maybe it's common sense, but I have met so many boys trying hard to get a girl's attention. While he's just rude to her, but then he's surprised why he doesn't like her. Talking about how you and your buddies could totally take on those other guys at the bar, who are usually minding their own fucking business. There's a certain type of guy who gets a few drinks in and thinks it's really impressive to show off what a violent asshole they are. Thank you, ladies. I'm going to keep being a sensitive man with an average penis, but with confidence now. If you could send one modern object back 500 years with a note attached explaining its use, what would it be and why? A set of children's encyclopedias. My kids had a set that were put out by Disney that explained natural phenomenon, solar systems, mechanical concepts, dinosaurs, etc. What was great is that they didn't presume any knowledge on the subjects so anyone would understand them. Also nice illustrations. A book on history from 1523-2023. Just want to see what sort of havoc that would cause. My university physics textbook would jumpstart humanity's achievements by 500. I never claimed to be a good speller. I would send back the machine that I used to send stuff back 500 years. Japan has Godzilla. What does your country have? Drop bears. Nessie. We have Tanawa and the Puakai, but that is probably cultural memory of the Host eagle, the biggest eagle known to have existed. Extinct, but not a myth. Poland has wall dragon. The fucking sand squanch, Ricky. Fucking bean. Sean the sheep. Emus, we lost a war against them. Florida man. The great collie. Kraken. Diabetes. Load shedding. Paul motherfucking Bunyan. Hitler, I guess. Dracula, aka Vlad the Impaler. People who work in super luxury hotel. What's the one thing management does want normal citizens to know? We turn a blind eye to drug dealers and prostitutes more often than you think. They hardly complain and usually prepay huge bonds happily. Also, we don't give a shit if you're having an affair. A lot of lonely people going on vacation to end their life. Happens a lot but is never mentioned on the news. Billionaire shat in the elevator multiple times. Management didn't stop him. We had to keep track when he used the elevator to ensure we clean the mess before anyone else would find it. People who work in the airline industry, what are some of the craziest things you have seen? There were 2 suitcases checked in that were full of nothing but weed. Saw the pilot walk into the passenger area and say, "I'm not flying this piece of shit," and get off the plane, and all the passengers followed him. A fully naked woman just walked through the terminal and tried to walk through security like she wasn't fully naked. with dead body inside being left out of the flight due to overload without notice neither to us nor the family realizing it by seeing it while the plane was leaving and screaming to us. A plane I got on once almost left without half of its aircrew on it. What immediately tells you someone is a trashy parent? Zero interest in the kid. Doesn't care what they do or what happens to them, as long as they don't inconvenience them. Using your kid as therapy and then getting upset when they have issues regulating their emotions. Refusing to believe their kid can do wrong. Social media influencers whose entire content is their children. People who publicly punish their kids online. Parents who give out way too many details about their children, giving them lack of privacy. Child exploitation at its finest. Mothers who sees their daughter as competition. Came here to make sure I'm not accidentally doing any of these things. What is a fact that you learned in grade school that has been disproven? When I was little, I was taught about the Brontosaurus, mighty long-necked plant eater of the dinosaurs. Later, I was taught that, whoops, they accidentally stuck some random bones together and there was never any such animal. Later still, I recall hearing that, oh, actually, there was a Brontosaurus after all. Or was there? To this day, I am still, as a 42-year-old man, unclear on whether or not there was ever such a thing as a Brontosaurus. The taste bud zones thing. Gum doesn't sit in your system for 7 years. What is something that still hasn't gone back to normal after the pandemic? A lot of places that reduced services for health and safety seem to have decided it saves too much money should bring back. Many hotels aren't doing daily service. Fast casual restaurants are leaning heavily towards takeout and delivery. In-person appointments for many services. Supermarkets that used to be open 24/7. The cost of things. 24-hour stores and restaurants. There are probably way less than half as there used to be. I don't know about y'all, but the sense of time is messed up. It's like 3 years of my timeline is missing. What is the most evil company in history? East India Trading Company did a lot of bad shit. Modern day is Purdue Pharma. The architects of the opioid is not a level of hell hot enough for the Sackler family. Chiquita Bananas, I'm not sure if they're that evil currently, but they have a really bad history of killing protesting workers, starting wars, and supporting terrorist organizations. Brands International. Joja ruins small businesses and destroys the sense of community in rural towns. Shell Company, they destroyed Nigeria. Nestle, the worst thing is that I can't avoid them. Even if I don't buy them, they are everywhere. Dole is pure evil. East India Company. What product, unbeknownst to most people, has the highest markup? Caskets and pretty much anything for funerals. Funeral homes completely take advantage of people during the worst days of their lives. It's disgusting. Fountain soda. The entire reason fast food places want to sell you the meals is because they want to sell you a soda that costs 10 cents for $3. The margin on the rest of the food is more like 10-15, while fountain sodas are like 90. Glasses. Luxottica owns most major eyewear stores. Costs them a few dollars to make and you pay hundreds for them. Back in the day, text messaging. The second cheapest bottle of wine on the menu. What TV show never gets old to you? Arrested Development, Seasons 1-3 specifically. Parks Rec. Sunny. Faulty Towers. Avatar: The Last Airbender. X-Files, I can sit and rewatch it time and time again. Futurama. Community, it's a dense, brilliant sitcom that's played with just about every other genre or style. No matter what you're in the mood for, there's a Community episode for you. Feel like watching an action movie or western? Watch the paintball episodes. Want to see a send-up of historical documentaries? Pillow Fort versus Blanket Fort. Feel like watching a David Fincher film but don't have 2 hours to kill? Ask Crack Bandit. MSH. What's a food that the majority of people or restaurants fuck up in your opinion? Caesar salad. It either has barely any dressing or it's so drenched in dressing that it pools at the bottom of the bowl. Fries. So many mediocre fries. Lot of nasty BBQ out there drowning in sauce to try and cover it up. Gnocchi, it's meant to be light and airy, not a lead weight. Onion rings. A great onion ring is an elusive thing. Calamari, often overcooked into rubber, at least here in the Midwest. I think enough people around here don't even know how good calamari is. It is screwed up so much. Crab cakes, even in MD it's hit or miss. Outside of MD, places tend to use too much filler and binder. What song changed your whole taste in music? Enjoy the Silence, Depeche Mode. Linkin Park, One Step Closer. Was into rap. This got me into rock alternative. Comfortably Numb, Pink Floyd. Shine On You, Crazy Diamond, a long intro and slow build with a blazing end. Took me to take a deeper look at Floyd's earlier work. Smells Like Teen Spirit. Sober Tool. Green Day, Basket Case. Chopin's Nocturne Op. 9 number 2 went from an EDM funk lover to classical romantical. Ghost, Love Score, Nightwish. As cliche as it may seem, Metallica's one. Dragula, We're Not Gonna Take It. Don't Stop Me Now, Crazy Train. What's a non-horror movie that traumatized you as a kid? Bridge to Terabithia. The Brave Little Toaster. Ferngully, The Last Rainforest. That evil tree scared me so bad. The Land Before Time. Watching Littlefoot's mother die was awful. Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Large Marge scared the crap out of little me. I was even scared of the fortune teller. Never-ending Story. Not even Artax, which was awful, but the Rockbiter and his good strong hands. My Girl. Fear of death, fear of losing a friend, fear of bees, fear of puberty. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory boat scene. Honorable mention of claustrophobia when Augustus gets stuck in the chocolate tube. UGH. For those who have careers that keep them out at sea for long periods of time, what is the creepiest thing you've seen out in the water? Mething that you see a lot when you're in the ocean is kayaks and life jackets floating around, and you always radio them in, but they always just fell off a yacht or something. And it's never a big deal. Once we found a kayak floating, and it had a fishing rod in the rod holder, which basically meant someone was using it. Have you ever gotten up and quit your job in the middle of a work shift? If so, why? Day 2 owner tells me that he pays taxes for us, so he pays cash and it is after taxes. So 7.5 and not the 10 hours we agreed to. I walked out and called the IRS hotline to report fraud. Dishwasher. Had worked there 2 weeks. The AC for kitchen and office both broke the day before I started. Office AC was fixed the following day. Kitchen AC wasn't priority. It was a heat wave in August, hitting 115 outside. The whole kitchen staff walked out. If you could call yourself 5 years ago and had 30 seconds, what would you say? Alright, listen up you little shit. In 5 years, you will have 30 seconds to call yourself from 5 years ago. Think of something better than I did. Don't drive home. Stay where you are. The tacos aren't worth jail time. No license and $10,000 in fees fines. Most expensive tacos ever. Hey, just checking in, dude. We're doing the same thing as 5 years ago. Kat says hi. Alright, see ya later. Buy crypto and sell it before November 2021. Peace. There's no time to explain. 2020-2022 will be the pandemic years. Buy shares for Pfizer, J&J, and something called Zoom. Ignore Skype. Older Redditors, what are some things that you never thought would happen in your lifetime, but did? Having a device that fits into the palm of my hand that I can use to access any information that I want at any time. In the 70s, when I was taking a test in school, I daydreamed that I had a watch on my wrist that gave me all the answers. Now we have them. COVID and the lockdown. It was something straight out of a Stephen King movie. After 32 years of marriage and 3 kids, finding out my husband has been seeing other women on the side for approximately 15 years. Never in a trillion years would I have thought this would happen to me. People who have had cancer. How did you first notice? I broke my femur on Christmas Eve last year. I went to an urgent care where they found a mass on my femur. They then referred me to another doctor who confirmed my stage for bone cancer. I have been fighting it for almost a year now. undergoing a knee and femur replacement, as well as 9 months of chemo. Blood pressure started spiking and I started breaking out. The doctors and I didn't know that the two were related until they sent me for a large tumor was found on my adrenal gland. What are some signs that your married friend doesn't have a good marriage? Never wants to go home, doesn't like bringing their spouse as +1, speaking poorly of spouse. Future plans sound more I than we, and lack of excitement around the holidays. When my husband died, some friends admitted that they were a little jealous. They continually complain about their spouse in front of others or disparage them. Lesser-known symptom: working long hours habitually. I knew a guy that wasted tons of time in the office, but worked every night until 7:0 or 8:0 because he clearly hated his wife and daughters. Also works for people who spend all their time volunteering to get out of the house. They always complain about how busy they are, but they have no problem talking to you while working. What is a game you're positive no one knows or remembers? We played Zoominis in elementary school. I think it was a puzzle adventure game. I recall them being blobby things with long legs and on skates or something. Anyone remember the card game Skip Bo? We'd always play it after an O. Crystal DOS game. Jazz Jackrabbit, a computer game. Cool Borders snowboarding game. I like changing their outfits. Robotac robot or fighter jet? Yes, both at the same time. Polybius. Vigilante 8. TC Surf designs wood and water rage for Ness. What is suspicious to own, but not illegal? As light into the cargo area of my station wagon, the most visible objects were a shovel, rope, gloves, and the giant tarp-wrapped bundle of yard refuse I was bringing to the town compost in the morning. Surely there was at least one roll of duct tape or Gorilla Tape back there? At least he had a sense of humor about it when he strolled up to my window, so we're off to bury the body under the cover of night, huh? A collection of other people's hair. Multiple padlocks on your basement door. Too many of any one innocuous item. You've got 10 citrus squeezers or 25 dusters. I'm going to be side-eyeing you. A closet grow tent for tomatoes. What is the stupidest thing someone has told you with complete conviction? She said, if you dream about falling and you hit the ground in your sleep, you'll actually die. It's been proven. I said, if you die in your sleep, how can anyone know what you were dreaming? Ruined a favorite story of hers? Sorry. A guy I work with said that a football referee runs over the distance of a marathon during a game. I pointed out that a football game was only 90 minutes long, and that the marathon record was just over 2 hours, so that would be impossible. He said it was possible because a football referee changes direction a lot during a game, and it all adds up. That the speed of light wasn't like an actual number, it was just a figure of speech. What was the first major news story you remember as a kid? The Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. OJ trial. I remember watching Princess Diana's funeral. I was about 6, I think. 9/11. COF. Moon landing. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. I remember asking my dad, why is mom crying? It was because John Lennon got shot. Bay of Pigs. The first attack on the World Trade Center in 1993. Either that or the disastrous siege of the Branch Davidian cult compound in Waco, Texas. They both happened roughly around the same time. Definitely remember Steve Irwin dying. Shuttle explosion, baby Jessica. Probably the fall of the Berlin Wall. What's something that's illegal now, but used to be perfectly normal? Used to buy dynamite at the hardware store. My dad and I used it to remove stumps. Cigarette vending machines, no age restriction. Just drop couple of quarters in and pull the handle. Sending your kids to the store to buy cigarettes. Driving around without a. When I was a kid, it was common to find rear seatbelts weren't even fitted. My dad bought them separately and fitted them himself a couple of times. Smoking at HS had a smoking area for students. Dosing your baby with OTC laudanum so you can go out dancing all night. Or so my grandmother said. A couple of flappers overdosed their babies and they stopped selling laudanum in the drugstore. What's the worst piece of tech you've ever owned? HP printer. Just plain dystopian. Mandatory online account and internet connection to scan a paper when the printer is connected via a cable. Drives me mad. Printers, printers, printers. Even the best printers I've ever had have only worked acceptably. Amazon Fire Kids. What a complete piece of unintuitive, non-customizable, terrible UI garbage that thing was. A smart toaster. It was smart enough to burn it. That awful case management program that needed a network share to which all users had read-write access and which held all the private client information, and repeatedly crashed. Mainly printers, though. What is the most irritating dog breed to own? Jerk wrestle terrorist. I say this as a loving owner of one. Huskies are not good house dogs. They suffer loneliness worse than others, have poor guarding skills, and if it runs away, it will keep running. English Bulldog. Mine was like living with a bulimic alcoholic with narcolepsy whose hair was falling out all the time and who was allergic to himself. Great dogs, though. Beagles can be really annoying. They're adorable but bark non-stop, like far more than most other breeds, and are very difficult to train. Super hyper. What is the most historically significant event you witnessed in person? The tumbling of the wall in Germany, along with people selling bits and pieces of it on tables in lobby in front of commissary and PX in the following weeks and months. I had picked up a chunk about the size of an Oreo and kept it. Has blue spray paint on the flat side. Wonder if anyone is buying them now. I sat on the roof of our house and watched MT St. Helens erupt less than 100 miles away. I was standing on my front porch watching the launch of the Challenger. I was watching the first local news broadcast of Hide Your Kids, Hide Your Wife. What are the craziest ways you've heard of people making money? Heard of crazier, but a guy I know, friend of my mother's, went to Texas 30 years ago. We are from Norway, and he noticed every single garden had a trampoline. And it was almost always Jump King the Circular with blue mat ones, so he went to the HQ, bought 10 and took back to Norway. Within days they were sold, and he ordered 50 more, same thing. So he became the only importer and has God knows how many millions to his name today. What's the worst thing someone can say on a first date? My best friend and I were having dinner next to a couple on a first date. Of all the egregious things the guy did, I think the worst was laughing when the poor girl said her best friend had recently committed suicide. My cousin went on a first date where in the middle of the conversation he reached over and squeezed her tit and said honk. She said, "What on earth do you think you're doing?" He said, "I've had quite a lot of success with that move." There was no second date. What was wrecked by the wealthy? Affordable housing. So many things, but I'll say trucks. Time, a humble working class vehicle for people who need to be able to do things themselves. Now they're all luxury vehicles with massive margins, unaffordable to anyone who needs them to do real work. Can't believe thrift stores haven't been said yet. Used to be great places to get cheap clothing, but the trendiness of vintage clothing and resellers buying out inventories have ruined it. Concerts, vaguely gestures at everything. Politicians. What are the most ridiculous beauty standards for either gender that just frustrate you? You must look young, even if you're 60. Perfectly clear, flawless, dewy skin. Everyone has blemishes, dry patches, redness here and there, some weird permanent little hump that won't go. Everyone. Being bald. I've got thinning hair, and I know I'll be bald before I'm 30, probably before I'm 25. And it sucks to feel bad about that. One time a girl apologized to me for having about 1 millimeter of pubic hair. Like WTF, I don't care. I'm getting laid not looking at a Photoshop picture of a model porn star. What jobs will exist in 10 years that don't exist now? I think for the most part that it will just be an evolution of current jobs. But there will probably be a demand for counter-AI jobs, specifically to detect and scrub AI content. Therapist for sex dolls. Skynet resistance forces. Food printer repairman. Someone is going to need to feed the AI. I don't know what they will eat, but they are going to need a lot of it. Private armed guards hired by the wealthy to watch over their neighborhoods, Brazil style. WW3 historian. Social media addiction specialist. 1. Car forensics. Self-driving cars will have accidents and someone needs to analyze the car to see what went wrong. 2. Home automation contractor. What's the worst thing a woman has done on the first date? She took 3 phone calls in the first 30 minutes and actually chatted. It was clear none of them were important. When she went to the restroom, I left. Showing up to the bar 7 hours early and proceeding to get blackout drunk, well, repeatedly. Texting me throughout my workday saying I should just come now is the first thing that comes to mind. Told me she was pregnant by her roommate fiancé. What 80s song do you never get sick of? The Killing Moon Echo and the Bunnymen. Blue Monday New Order. Take on Me T Dream It's Overcrowded House. Never Let Me Down Again Depeche Mode. Tracy Chapman Fast Car. Tears for Fears Head Over Heels. Something About You by Level 42. Dire Straits Walk of Life or Money for Nothing. Don't You Forget About Me Simple Minds. Yazoo's Don't Go has never worn out its welcome with me since day one. And I was there when it came out. Alone Heart. Everybody Wants to Rule the World Tears for Fears. I've probably listened to it more than any other song. And it still sounds as good and fresh as it did the first time. West End Girls by the Pet Shop Boys. What do you know isn't real, but want badly for it to exist? A book with the correct and complete history of Earth and mankind. Cures for every illness. Magic. People's faces becoming as handsome or as ugly as their soul is. Wanna be pretty. Stop being an asshole. People on positions of power with great moral compasses that want the best for the people they are in control of responsible for. Crowded galaxy universe full of super advanced, kind, benevolent, patient aliens who have simply been waiting for some ancient contractually obligated time frame to pass before making themselves known. A pill that makes you lose weight instantly with no side effects and teleportation and a hangover. Cure. Why have commercials airplanes not gotten faster in the last 30 years? You can't have 45,000 planes a day producing a sonic boom without the population of the entire country going insane about it. It would be a nightmare. Concorde rather disproved the business case for supersonic air travel. To raise ticket revenue, you need capacity for bums on seats with the minimum cost per bum. Flying at pedestrian speeds enables tolerable fuel consumption, while complying with noise and pollution regulations. So the current generation of aircraft have refined those characteristics. Flying faster just costs more fuel. Airlines and passengers have prioritized fuel savings price savings for passengers over speed. If WW3 breaks out and you're drafted, what position would suit you? I'd be the dude at the start of the movie who gets brutally blown up to set the tone. I'm a 62-year-old man. If I'm drafted, we've already lost the war. The fetal position. Casualty. Is there an NCO in charge of back in my day? Well, I work in cybersecurity, so I would assume that the biggest change would be the source of my paycheck. As I'm in Europe, I've already would have seen the light before my draft letter would have even been written. Bombad General. Mid-lane. Target. If you got married after less than 6 months of dating, what's your story? He was from USA and I was Canadian. He lived up here for 6 months before having to go back. We got married instead that 15 years later. We're amazing. Best decision of my life. We both kind of stopped each other from far away. Imagine two very shy people trying to speak to each other finally opened. We fit together like pieces in a puzzle. My friends met on Halloween, engaged on Thanksgiving, married New Year's Day. They lived 900 miles from each other, still married 30 years later. Explanation when you know. You know, you know? People still working from home, how's it going? Still working less than 8 hours a day, but getting to fill the downtime with housework. Spending time with the toddler, wife, and pets. Putting less than 5,000 miles on each vehicle per year. I had an offer with a raise to go back to a physical building and couldn't bring myself to do it. People who quit a job on the first day. What happened? I was hired as a cook at a Huddle House. Which shifts I'd have in the interview? I'd be expected to basically run the restaurant alone on graveyard shift after only a week of training, and this place was violating health codes left and right. When I was around 14, I worked for Dickie D Ice Cream, think Canadian good humor, for one-day riding a bicycle cooler. You were paid a commission based on what you sold, but you had to pay for your dry ice. Long story short, you had to ride that thing all day in blazing heat to make virtually no money. This was in the mid-80s. I hope this is illegal now. What is something people base too much of their identity on? Some people base too much of their identity on external validation or social media metrics. The celebrities they're a fan of, what they hate, as opposed to what they like and what makes them unique. Job titles. My Texas high school had a British club. I'm actually a British citizen, so I tried to people were nuts. They made Doctor Who and Sherlock their whole personalities. What brands they find isn't an identity. People base their entire identity on their social media followers. Said, really? Being a boy mom. Wine mom. What is the polite way to say mind your own business fuck off when someone asks you why you're still unmarried, no children? Just lucky, I guess. It was foretold that my firstborn would kill my most annoying family member, colleague, neighbor. You are safe for now. Sorry, but you're not my type. Just look aghast and ask them, why would you ask me such a personal question? Let them explain the importance. Why do you ask? Said in a curious tone. If they ask again, I say, you know, nobody ever asks married people why they are married. I think it should be the same for single people, too. Then change the subject. What did you buy with your first ever work paycheck? It was 1976. I was making a whopping $2. I wasn't on my feet all day. Family didn't have a lot of money, which is why I started working well in the 11th grade. So with my first paycheck, I took my mom and brothers out to dinner at Big Boy. I remember being all proud to say, get whatever you want, even the combo meal and a milkshake. It's on me. Gasoline and insurance to continue to be able to go to work.